Good evening, everyone. I am JD Quintana,
I am Ederlyn Escalyar.
and we will be your hosts for this evening.
On behalf of the UST Hospital Department of Family and Community Medicine, in collaboration with the Philippine Academy of Family Physicians Manila Chapter, we warmly welcome all of you to today's webinar entitled Family Diabetes Care Planning, Our Family, Our Health, Our Diabetes Plan.
To our guests joining us today, thank you for taking the time to be with us as we learn practical strategies for empowering families in diabetes care and management.
So to formally begin our program, may we request everyone to settle down and prepare for our opening prayer. This will be followed by our national anthem and the PAFP hymn.
May God the Father bless us.
May God the Son heal us.
May God the Holy Spirit enlighten us,
and give us eyes to see with, ears to hear with,
hands to do the work of God with,
Feet to walk with,
and mouth to preach the word of salvation with.
and may the angel of peace
watch over us,
and lead us at last.
By the Lord's gift to the kingdom. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
With firm hope we make the journey to pathways of the great and wide, certain of our destination and the deeper meaning of our mission. We answer, God appeal for help, have compassion for our brother's pain. With happy hearts we pave the way for a better health of the family. Move onward, family physicians. Keep striving for excellence. Let's work with concern and serve with commitment. For we are the keystone to a healthy nation. Move onward, family physicians. Keep striving for excellence. Let's work with concern and serve with commitment. For we are the keystone to a healthy nation. Move onward, family physicians. Keep striving for excellence. Let's work with concern and serve with commitment. For we are the keystone to a healthy nation.
Again, thank you everyone. Before we proceed, may we request everyone to register their attendance by scanning the QR code displayed on your screen. We will also be sending the link to the registration via the Zoom group chat. We will be giving you a few minutes. Thank you. We kindly request everyone to please accomplish the registration from before the end of the program. We will allow everyone a few moments to complete the registration. Thank you. To formally welcome us to today's webinar, it is our privilege to introduce our chair, the chair of the Department of Family and Community Medicine from UST Hospital, Dr. Maria Victoria Concepcion Pelares Cruz, who will deliver the opening remarks.
Good evening. Diabetes mellitus is a chronic metabolic disorder that represents one of the most significant global public health challenges. Its management extends beyond pharmacological treatment and clinical interventions, requiring continued self-management, lifestyle modification, and coordinated support from both the healthcare professionals and family members. As diabetes is a lifelong condition, its impacts often extends to the family unit, influencing daily routines, emotional well-being, financial resources, and overall quality of life. Family diabetes care planning is founded on the principles of patient and family-centered care, recognizing the family as an essential partner in promoting effective diabetes self-management. Family members play a critical role in supporting adherence to prescribed medications, facilitating healthy dietary practices, encouraging regular physical activity, monitoring signs of acute and chronic conditions, and providing psychosocial support. Evidence indicates that active family involvement contributes to improve glycemic control, enhance treatment adherence, reduce diabetes-related complications, and better health outcomes. In this lecture, we will examine the theoretical foundation and practical applications of diabetes care planning. We hope to learn the essential components of a comprehensive care plan, explore the roles of patients, families, and the interdisciplinary healthcare team, and review evidence-based strategies that promote effective communication, self-management, and continuity of care. Understanding these principles is fundamental to delivering holistic, patient-centered care and improving clinical outcomes for individuals living with diabetes. I want to thank Dr. Rafael Cruz for sharing his time and expertise on this topic tonight. May this talk on diabetes care inspire greater knowledge, compassionate care, and a renewed commitment to improving the lives of people living with diabetes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Marivic, for your warm welcome and inspiring message.
Good evening, everyone. And to introduce our speaker for tonight, he was a former chief and is a graduate of UST Hospital Department of Family and Community Medicine, a diplomate, fellow, and fellow life of PAFP. He is a fellow in diabetology in Philippine Association of Medical Specialists, a certified specialist of Philippine Society of Hypertension, a member of American Diabetes Association, a member of Philippine Society of Diabetologists, and Board of Trustees of Philippine Association of Diabetes Educators. In the past, he is the founding president of ISDFI Alumni Rizal Marikina Chapter, Southern Luzon Board of Director of PAFP, the founding chair of the Department of Family Medicine and Community Medicine in Angono Rizal, diabetologist in Diabetes Center Cainta Municipal Hospital, the founding president of PAFP Rizal Chapter, and a member of American Academy of Family Physicians. He currently practices at Manila East Medical Center in Taytay Rizal, Taytay Doctors Multi-Specialty Hospital, and Metro Rizal Hospital in Cainta Rizal. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Rafael Cruz.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Is my voice clear?
Good evening, Doc. Yes po,
Good
Doc.
evening po,
Clear
Doc.
po.
Okay. Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank UST Department of Family Medicine and Community Medicine for inviting me to be your resource person for tonight's activity. And also, I would like to greet all the members of the PAFP Manila chapter, both the residents, members, consultant, and guests. Okay. So, this topic has been chosen by me because I think it is very timely that as a family physician, we should have a structured approach to every family with the diabetes. So allow me to share my slides. Okay.
Yes po, Doctor. Thank you po.
Okay. Okay. So, dali. Mali yata. Dali. Okay. Yan. Nasa end of share. Nakaagad ako. Dali. Move ko lang sa first slides. Okay. Okay. Good evening. Okay, this will be my topic for tonight, Family Diabetes Care Plan. So, for my disclosure, as a part of speakers of other drug company, I received honorarium from different drug company. So, if I mention a brand, it's not my intention to promote it. Okay. So, this will be my outline. I will talk a little bit on the global and local burden of disease of diabetes, a family diabetes care plan, and I will talk about the community care plan and the roles of the family physician. So based on this illustration that IDF Diabetes Atlas, there is a major global health challenge because we expect that there will be an increase in number of diabetics around the world, that 1 in 9 adults worldwide has a diabetes. And what is more exciting, and we need to do something, there are almost 45% of people with diabetes are undiagnosed. And there will be a rise from 2025, there is around 589 million diabetics, and it will increase by 44% to 850 diabetics by year 2015. So diabetes in Asia Pacific, where the Philippines also belongs, that there's around 215 million adults with diabetes, and 1 in 8 adults has a diabetes, and still there's more patients to diagnose. Around 108 millions need to be seen by the family physician. In terms of local data, based on the IDF, this is the latest estimate in 2025, the burden of diabetes in the Philippines, there's a 4.7 million Filipinos living with diabetes. And nearly 2 out of 5 are Filipinos with diabetes are still undiagnosed. So every day you will see and encounter patient with diabetes. And the future projection, by year 2030, 5.6 million diabetics will rise to 2045 by 6.7 million. And we have to prepare ourselves to see the impact of this health, because there will be more comorbidities and complications. But what we can do now is to have an early prevention of every families with diabetes, early detection, and good management that will save the lives of our Filipino people and families. So to give you the breakdown of the different types of diabetes, this is the latest estimate from the Department of Health. Majority is type 2 diabetes. It comprises around 90 to 95 of all diabetes in the Philippines. And what we are seeing right now is bumabata po ng bumabata. We are seeing younger people who became diabetes because of lifestyle factors, no? Especially during pandemic, no? Then type 1 diabetes only comprises around 5 to 10%. And I will later on the succeeding slides, I will tell you how to diagnose type 1 diabetes. And 3 to 8% are gestational diabetes. So as a family physician, we should have an early detection and promote healthy lifestyle and family-centered care. So how about the Filipino families with diabetes? Roughly, there are about 1.5 million Filipino families are affected by diabetes. And about 1 out of 10 Filipino families. So when we compare that, correlate that with the family physicians, we have only around 5 to 6,000 based on PAFP membership. Out of 1.5 million, we have to see each and every one family members. Even we include other specialists, still it's not much with the number of incoming diabetes in your clinics. So we will now proceed with the diabetes care plan. So this is based on the American Academy of Family Physicians. This is a personalized written plan that guides the Filipino family physician on how to take care of persons with diabetes. So hindi na po tinatawag na diabetics. Ang tawag na po natin ay persons with diabetes. And we will work together with the family member. So the family will be a partner in treatment of the patient, no, in terms of achieving blood sugar control, prevention of complication, and improved quality of life. So this will be discussed further from 1 to 5. Okay. So our family goal is to work together to achieve a good blood sugar control. So what will be the role of the family physician based on the family health, family diabetes care? Number one is to assess the family. Number two is to develop this family diabetes care and educate them, coordinate with comprehensively with the other team member, and to monitor and prevent complications. So let's start with number one, assess the patient. So everyone is doing this, that getting the family history, medical history, the lifestyle, and identify different risk factors. So we should evaluate patient condition and diabetes control and assess their family history. So this is one of the possible tools that you can use in your clinic on to identify those persons with at risk of type 2 diabetes. This is just a checklist that you can use, but the problem here is this is a Western and American BMI, which we have a different BMI from Asia Pacific, but it can also help. The importance of this ADA, diabetes risk score, is to identify people at risk, and it will guide us in timely screening. So if we get a higher risk score, we can start assessing the patient and promotes early prevention and supports family-based risk assessment. Later on, it can help us in reducing diabetes complication. This is one of our tool, the family genogram, that we can use for risk assessment of diabetes. Take a look, okay, it shows the family history across the generation, which one has a diabetes and pre-diabetes. So at a glance, you can already see that who are among the members at risk or diabetes or pre-diabetes or GDM. So we can immediately assess the family if they have a strong history of type 2 diabetes, first degree relative, or at risk of developing overweight. We can immediately recommend a healthy lifestyle for the whole family and advise them with physical activity and maintain healthy weight. Okay. So these also identify risk members, and the family physician can recognize relatives who may need early screening and counseling. Okay. So it is also possible that all those family with parents who are both have diabetes, there is an estimated 50 to 70% risk of developing diabetes. So there's also it is possible that one parent has a diabetes, there's an estimated lifetime risk of 30 to 40%. And neither parents, it is possible also that neither parent has diabetes, the estimated lifetime risk about 5 to 10%. It also happened that if both parents with diabetes, it doesn't mean that a child will definitely develop diabetes, because there's such a thing as primarily the genetic susceptibility, wherein if the members is exposed to lifestyle factors, this is being triggered by environment, it is possible even without parents with diabetes, you can still develop a diabetes. So this is also the family diabetes map. You can see and screen the family and able to promote now the family diabetes action plan. Okay. So the objective of this family diabetes map is to detect who among the family members have a diabetes and identify those who are at risk. For example, the mother is overweight, you can now plan for weight reduction program and also, for example, the daughter, you can also have a healthy diet or physical activity. So this is a simple tool that will help the family physician assess, stratify, and monitor every family member affected by or at risk for diabetes. So let's start with A, assessment of healthy lifestyle. No? Check for the A1C. We should confirm the diagnosis. Meron po kasi mga pasyente, magdadala po sila ng result ng FBS, mataas agad. No? At kung isa lang po yung result niya, FBS, huwag nyo na agad mo ng gamutin. You have to, again, add additional workups like it should be 2 FBS at a different occasion, or 1 FBS, 1 HbA1c, or 1 FBS or random blood sugar. Then assess the blood pressure, the weight, kidney function, and possible screen for diabetes. It is not always that new patient will come to you without any complication. There are times 5 years or 10 years ago na yung diabetes nila. Okay. So how to diagnose a type 1 diabetes? No? In my practice, for 37 years, I have only seen around 10 to 12 type 1 diabetes. So very rare talaga. There are times diagnosis may be dramatic. We have seen them, most of them in the emergency room wherein they develop diabetes ketoacidosis because even the family don't know that the child is already diabetic. So you can also request for HbA1c to our postprandial or random, but to confirm whether it is type 1, you can ask for islet autoantibodies. In our area, very rare po ito. We have no available laboratory for this, only the C-peptide. You can use the C-peptide. There are times kasi that we can have type 1 for a 25-year-old patient, or mayroon din akong type 1 na 60 years old. So it's very difficult to know whether this is type 1 or type 2. So serum insulin should not be requested because it is highly variable. It is influenced by food intake and insulin therapy. So it's not recommended for diagnosing type 1. Okay. So what we recommend is the autoantibodies. If it is available in your hospital, okay, well and good. For type 2 diabetes mellitus, you can request for HbA1c or fasting plasma glucose o 2-hour OGTT or random plasma glucose. Pero makita nyo rito, bakit hindi gamitin ng casual blood glucose? What's the difference? No? Kasi akala ng iba, yung mga ibang pasyente, pag merong medical mission, nagpakuha ng casual blood glucose, mataas, it's not used for diagnosis. Because, remember, when you request for random plasma glucose, you're using the plasma, and the casual blood glucose is using whole blood. Remember, the whole blood contains red blood cells, and red blood cells is consuming blood. So it is not reliable. Unlike the plasma, there is no red blood cell. It is 10 to 15% higher than the fresh whole blood. So we prefer to use the random plasma glucose and not the casual blood glucose. Casual blood glucose can be used as a monitoring for patient with already have a diabetes. So for pre-diabetes, this is the value HbA1c of 5.7 to 6.4 kasi 6.5 yung type 2 diabetes, and for the fasting plasma glucose, if you have a 100 to 125 milligram per deciliter, and for 2-hour OGTT 140 to 199. Before, hindi pa na masyadong tinitreat to, parang non-pharmacologic lifestyle and exercises and nutrition. But now we have to treat them, the pre-diabetes, especially if they have families with diabetes, family members with diabetes. For GDM, we can request for either may 1-step or 2-step OGTT, but most of the time, based on WHO, it's better to request for 75 grams OGTT. Okay. they will get the fasting, the 1 hour and the 2 hours. Which is more important is the fasting and the 2 hours. But any one of these that is abnormal is considered GDM. Okay, and we have to screen all pregnant patients at 24 to 28 weeks gestation. In our diabetes center, we've seen almost every week a GDM, but others are not GDM. They only being referred to us by OB just to clear that the patient is not really GDM. Okay. So let's now go to the second part of the family-centered diabetes plan is the care plan itself. So this is a personalized care plan with the patient and the family. They should set a shared goal and assignment. We should assign roles to each family members. So what is a family diabetes care plan? It is a personalized written plan that guides the person with diabetes with their family in working together. So our goal there is to achieve blood sugar control, prevent complication, and to improve the quality of life. And also assign roles and responsibility for each family members. Okay. So this is just example of this structured form of the family diabetes care plan. You can use it, you can modify it, you can use it in your research. So remember, this has been shown to you, siguro may mga RTDs, this has been shown to you, the decision cycle for patient-centered glycemic management. Remember that the patient is at the center of our treatment and it should be a shared decision. No? Unlike before, sasabihin ng doktor, ako masusunod, ako magpaplano ng iyong treatment. No, nowadays, we have to share with our plans and decision to our patient. So kaya the patient has an important role to play in our decision making. So this shared decision making to create a better management plan, seek the patient preference. O pag nag-start medyo mataas, I will ask the patient, gusto niyo po ba tablet o insulin? So, and I will explain the reason why. And I will ask the patient anong kanyang preferred treatment. And then I will interview the family members kung anong assignment nila. Merong isang taga-financier, merong isang siya yung in charge sa healthy food preparation, meal planning, yung tatanungin ko sino yung namimili sa palengke, tatanong ko sino kasama sa bahay to get the CBG. So, diabetes does not affect one person, it affects the whole household. Okay, so then also implement the management program based on your decided goal. So this is now the Diabetes Canada. Nakita ko to sa Google that there is such a thing as ABCD of diabetes care. No, A stand for A1C, B check the BP, then check the cholesterol and the drugs, and E exercise. But I want to add F. Wala ito sa kanilang guidelines. F because there's a really important family intervention. Okay, based in this article, family support is imperative for people with diabetes. No, family support in all types of diabetes care has been shown to have substantial effect in improving health outcomes. Kasi most of diabetes management occurs at home. And the family members are there, and they can actively encourage support and assist the family member with diabetes. Okay, so diabetes is not just a one-person journey; it is a family journey to be more successful. Okay, and also the next slide. Okay, what are the 3 goals of family diabetes care plan? One is we should achieve a good blood sugar control by providing the family an education that will support them with healthy eating and regular physical activity. I will discuss what is physical activity on the succeeding slides. And the patient with diabetes should adhere with the medication and have a blood glucose monitoring, especially those with under insulin. No? lalo na yung naka-insulin. Yung pagdating sa clinic ay mga 300, 400, 500 yung blood sugar. I will give them a time for monitoring and they will fill it up, no? And by doing so, we will prevent the diabetes complication. We will have to check, for example, hindi naman to gagawin in one day. It is subsequent follow-up, maybe 3 months, 6 months, and a year. We will different programs. So yung first meeting, check up mo yung blood sugar, then give the explanation to the medication. After 2 weeks, check the eyes. After 1 month, check the kidney. So, hindi naman lahat in one sitting magagawa lahat siya. But you have a plan, okay? Then monitor your progress and schedule medical appointments. It is a very important, crucial role for the family members to accompany the persons with diabetes to the clinic because there are times hindi na babalik sa clinic, 1 year na uli babalik. So we have to strengthen the family support and quality of life by educating every family member and encourage teamwork and shared responsibilities. So what are the roles of the family? So you will assign one member who will provide healthy meals. So I have a dietitian who will explain to the whole family on how to prepare and choose a best healthy diet for the patient and limit their sugary foods. There are times mayroong family member mag-uuwi ng ice cream, mag-uuwi ng chocolate. So dapat lahat sila aware ano ba yung hindi dapat iuwi sa pasyente. And will encourage them regular physical activity. They will exercise together. Sa umpisa, ito yung isa sa pinakamahirap. Sa umpisa, gagawin. After 3 months, hindi na rin magagawa. So, we should adhere the family members to the program and support medication adherence. No? Monitor the blood sugar, recognize the warning signs. There are times pag nag-start ng insulin, nag-hypoglycemia na pala sa bahay, hindi alam ng mga relatives what to do, how to resolve the hypoglycemia, when to bring to the doctor or to the hospital. Okay. Know the symptoms of low blood sugar and high blood sugar and know how to respond. So, part ng educators yan to teach them. So, family physician should be a diabetes educators, no? Then attend medical appointments, no? Ito importante. We need them to have a frequent follow-up because we cannot treat in one session only, no? And by doing so, it helps the family become active to prevent complications. So, for example, on this slide, ano ba yung roles ng family? If the father is the person with diabetes, so we expect them, kailangan may empowerment. We encourage each patient to be empowered. Kailangan marunong din siya mag-alaga ng sarili niya. So, he should take the medication that's prescribed, monitor the blood sugar, attend the follow-up. We have common problem among elderly, no, 60 to 70 or 80 years old because una mahina na pandinig nila, ikalawa malabo yung mata. So I always advise them for the next follow-up to have a family member, apo o kapat o anak. Pero pag parehong asawa malabo na mata, hindi talaga magiging successful. So if the father has a diabetes, so the mother should be educated on how to prepare a balanced diabetes-friendly meals, encourage medication, o monitor for warning signs. So yung role ng children should encourage their father to stay active, to remind about medications. May mga elderly patients na nakainom na ng gamot, tapos hindi nila alam, nakalimutan, uminom uli. So there's a danger of overdosing. Meron namang elderly patients na hindi pa uminom, akala niya uminom. So hindi magiging properly controlled ang blood sugar. Okay. So the whole family's responsibilities all together, with or without diabetes, to eat healthy meals. So kailangan pare-pareho po yung kakainin nila kahit walang diabetes. Yan ang problema. I have a couple with diabetes, no? Kung ano yung kinakain ng isa, gagayahin ng diabetes. So, kung hindi healthy, so I cannot control the diabetes, no? And to stop smoking and encourage regular checkups. Okay. So, based in this journal, it only shows and prove that it is based on research that family-focused intervention in patients with diabetes, with type 2 diabetes, is very effective. This is a systematic review meta-analysis by Reyes et al. No? Based on this journal, they may have a significant positive impact, overall significant in favor of family base. And it also helps in lowering HbA1c level and patient adherence. So, bantay sarado sila ng family members. So, what are those healthy lifestyle for the whole family? One is, alam nyo na yung healthy meals, no? Choose more vegetable, tapos may size yung fruits, limit sugary drinks, avoid sweets and processed food, be active at least 30 minutes per day or 150 minutes of physical activity each week. But before you advise a physical activity, there should be a clearance, no? Kasi baka mamaya meron siyang silent MI or hypertensive, you have to control them first, no? Or kung complicated, nag-heart failure, you can refer them to your friendly cardiologist, no? And maintain a healthy weight because obesity itself is already a disease. Hindi lang siya part of the diabetes, no? Then stay with tobacco or cigarette smoking, no? So this one I use in my clinic. So meron akong audiovisual aid sa clinic. What is a plate method? Pwede nyo gamitin din yung pinggang Pinoy, pero kasi sa ADA, ito yung ginagamit. No? Ito yung three partition. Half of the plate should be vegetable. 1/4 will be a plate for rice. So, minsan, kasi 1 cup of rice is equivalent to 2-3 tablespoon of sugar. Kaya minsan, mataas ang glycemic index niya. Kaya ang ginagawa ko, it is also equivalent to 1 piece of yung nilagang mais or 1 piece of nilagang saging saba or nilagang kamote. Then 1/4 will be allotted for your protein. No? Choose lang, no? Pwedeng fish, chicken, without skin, no? Lean meat dapat. So you can also use your hands to measure the size of the food, okay? So eat one at a time. Hindi pwedeng 3 banana in one sitting. Pwedeng may kasamang fruit po ito, no? Okay. So this is one diabetes meal plan. You can also show this to your patient. You create so ang importante lang kung gusto i-emphasize, the meals of the patient with diabetes is 5 to 6 times. So you can have your breakfast, you can have a mid-morning snack, lunch, evening snack, dinner. There are times may midnight snack pa. Most especially those who are on insulin. Kailangan, kasi depende sa type ng insulin, ito ba ay human insulin, 70-30, o ito ba ay yung analog. Kasi yung mga human insulin, napakabilis nilang magbagsak ng sugar. So, there are times, depende sa peak ng insulin, kung ano yung timing ng food nila. So, you can choose. So, ito yun. Maraming, depende sa computation ng calories. Ito yun. You can compute kasi weight times the activity. May ganun no? So, may ibang session yun. That is a separate session. Hindi ko pwede ituro dito kasi another topic po siya. Okay? So, yun lang. Then, you should know the kilocalories, no? Of each meal. Okay? So, these are the 3 types of exercise. Akala natin, basta maglakad ka lang, okay na yan. No. There is a purpose and reason for these 3 different types of exercise. Yung aerobic will have a good effect on cardio health. It lowers the blood pressure, also blood sugar. For every exercise, it increase insulin sensitivity in the pancreas. Sample of aerobic is brisk walking. Yung swimming, kung elderly, wag na nating Just a simple walking, not a brisk walking. At least 150 minutes per week. Pwede yung iba ginagawa, for example, 15 minutes sa umaga, 15 minutes sa gabi, just to complete the 30 minutes. No? Yung resistance training is for bone health and for the muscle strength. So sample niyan is weightlifting. But be careful on those patients with complication, most especially with retinopathy. Retinopathy or with MI or with diabetic nephropathy. Kasi baka mamaya may hypotension sila, mag-lift sila ng heavy weights, hindi pwede. 2 to 3 times. Pwedeng interval ng walking tapos resistance training on the other day. For flexibility and balance, is good for position and balance exercise. No? Ito pwede sa mga elderly, pwedeng naka-chair exercises. So before you recommend any type of exercise, the patient should have a cardiovascular clearance. No? Merong kailangan pag Y2D echo, check ang creatinine, check mo yung ECG, kasi baka maya mag-MI siya or mag-heart attack o ma-stroke during exercises. So you need to have a clearance first. So in terms of medication, no, we should help each family members with diabetes to remember the medications. No? Minsan nagkakahalo-halo. So minsan may dinidesign kaming parang box na may time, may date kung kailang inumin. Then follow the treatment and monitor the blood sugar. So in terms of blood sugar, individualized po, di ba, based dun sa ADA, at least 6.5%, but in other age group, iba po yung kanilang target HbA1c. You can monitor the blood sugar using the self-monitoring blood sugar or the continuous glucose monitoring. Ito medyo mahal pero very effective. So use appropriate medication but be able to prevent hypoglycemia. So this is the different individualized HbA1c target. If we have a very young patient, for example, 30 or 40 years old, very young, good health, newly diagnosed, we should be very strict. Pwede siyang 6.5% as long that there is no complication. Wala siyang kidney complication or heart complication. For most of adults, pwedeng ang target natin 7% ng HbA1c hanggang 7.5%. However, be careful on elderly patient, mga 70, 80 years old, hindi na natin siya kailangan gawin 6.5%. At 8%, okay na sa atin yan. No? Kasi if you would like to attain a lower HbA1c, the danger of hypoglycemia is there. And mga end of life or yung mga yung senior na, mga elderly na nakahiga na, at least no need to get the A1C to monitor. Kasi there are times din natin alam kung ilang years na lang siya mag-stay o baka mag-cause pa ng hypoglycemia o complication kung istriktuhan natin sa A1C. And there's now a shifting paradigm. This has been given lectures to by different drug companies. Before kasi, we are on the glucocentric approach, no? We only focus on the control of blood sugar, no? Kailangan maganda HbA1c, postprandial fasting blood sugar. But there is a study that if we are very strict with the blood sugar, pwedeng napabayaan mo may comorbidities, may other organ problems. Nag-MI siya, no? So, hindi na yon ang ating approach. The approach now is the organ-centric or the complication-centered approach. We have to focus on the patient. Ano ba yung possible present complications? Meron na ba siyang renal problem? May retinopathy na ba siya? May neuropathy? May liver problem or cardiovascular, no? Then, from then, kahit secondary lang na maibaba ng husto yung blood sugar, but we have to monitor the possible presence of complications, no? Organ protection and risk reduction, no? Madali nang i-control ang blood sugar as long as the patient will adhere to our treatment. Remember, there are still multiple and overlapping conditions. In one particular patients, they can have a CKD and CBD, 60% of people. This was a borrowed slide from Boehringer, no? We can have 33 to 43% of people with heart failure and have CKD. Nako, very common na tong heart failure. Before, when I was a resident, this being shown in a case presentation. But nowadays, every day I have a heart patient with heart failure at different stages, no? And you should know how to diagnose it. Basta meron kang sa ating level, check mo na agad yung chest x-ray pag may cardiomegaly, may congestion, ECG showed LBH, then you request for 2D echo, the ejection fraction is less than 40 or 45, okay, magkaroon ka na ng high index of suspicion, no? Kasi may mga pasyente, akala mo very normal, simple, and new case, yung pala, ang dami na niyang complication. Then, this is a interconnected. You can have a patient with renal, but at the same time with cardiovascular problems. So when one organ fails, the other organ also fails, no? So this is what I do in my practice. In 2019, ito yung guidelines nila, no? So you start with lifestyle change, then this is HbA1c driven management, no? Kung less than 7.5, you can start on one drug, metformin, but if the HbA1c is 7.5, you can start on combination therapy with a complementary action. Pag naka 9 or 10, kung very high talaga, I add insulin, an early use of insulin. Kasi akala ng iba, sige, hintayin natin 1 to 2 months, pag ay bumaba, tsaka tayo mag-add. No, the clinical inertia should be avoided. No? Di natin hintayin magkaroon pa ng maraming complication. Kasi pag pinatagal mo yung the patient is having a hyperglycemia in a duration of time, you are now making your patient more complications, no? So we have to compel the need. Ito na, dumating na ito, 2018, the glucose monitoring is based on this guideline. On the right side are those patients who were started on metformin, and your aim is to prevent hypoglycemia and weight management, no? You can start them on GLP-1 or metformin with other agent if still beyond the target. On the left side, if your patient who consulted you with already existing comorbidities like with heart failure or CBD or atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease or CKD, you can write there and there started on SGLT2 or GLP-1. Because of several studies that were proven that it is very useful on these cases. No? Okay. Then what else? So these are different anti-diabetics that you can choose. It's not part of my topic, just to mention it, and the role of Ozempic. So 3 goals of diabetes management: glycemic control and cardiorenal and weight control. Okay? So based on the target, kung undergoing na yung treatment, ito yung target blood glucose mo for every patient, no? Before meals should be 80 to 120, and 1 hour after meals should be less than 180, 2 hours 140. Kasi kailangan i-monitor yung blood sugar before breakfast, before lunch, before dinner. Iba naman yung sa gestational. So this is an example of the monitoring. So I give this to my patient and then they will record. Ito yung continuous glucose monitoring, no? Ito yung continuous glucose monitoring, and this is your self blood glucose glucometer, no? Remember, diabetes care is a family affair. So the whole family works together, supporting each other and also provide encouragement. So this is just the journal showing the importance of family and social support. There are numerous correlations that there is a positive and significant relationship of social support and diabetes, adherence to diabetes management. Number 3 is emotional. Ito, important aspect. This being neglected by other specialists. Emotional and practical support. We should encourage and motivate each other, reduce stress together. So talk about the feelings and concern, no? Teach the family members on how to know the feelings of the patient and share responsibilities. So a strong supporting family can also be an answer and also help in those family members with misconception about the diabetes. So marami pa rin dito sa Rizal, marami pa rin ganito, no? Bumibili ng mga dahon-dahon, herbal, insulin tablet na hindi naman totoo. So, kapag di natin sila na-educate, it will worsen the cases of diabetes, no? So, educating family members about diabetes care needs and is the strain, okay? Just explain to them, no? These are the most common emotional health concern of my patient, no? Ang dami kong pasyenteng may diabetes burnout. In a day, I have 30 to 40 diabetes person with diabetes, 30 to 40 per day, no? And we have to check whether the patient has a diabetes burnout. This is a state of physical, mental, emotional, no? Then it may affect the treatment adherence if it will not be addressed, no? There is factors of diabetes burnout because we know that the treatment of diabetes is very long and it requires a complex treatment. May tablet, may monitoring, may insulin, and we expect the presence of diabetes complication and of course financial burden. Madalas ito yung concern. Titigil ng follow-up kasi wala nang pambili ng gamot. So after 3 months, 1 year, naku, lalong naging worsen. And they lack family and social support. So we need to talk to the relatives and those patients with depression and anxiety. So the common signs of patients with diabetes burnout, feeling tired, skipping medication, yung bigla na lang babalik, hindi na nag-inject ng insulin, because feeling guilty, hopelessness, kasi wala na silang trabaho, pabigat na sila sa pamilya, and lost motivation to eat. Ang dami kasing restriction. O, tay, bawal to pa. Wala na siyang kakainin. So, the feeling is that nothing I can do make a difference. Pag laging mataas ang sugar, burnout na rin. Kasi ayaw na nilang, parang wala na silang hope, no? Pag bumabalik yung pasyente ang taas pa rin ng HbA1c, it's already a sign of diabetes burnout. What are other mental health problems? Diabetes distress, depression, anxiety, so may mga panic attack, lalo na yung biglang nag-hypoglycemia, nag-inject ng insulin, tapos hindi kumain, bagsak, nag-70, 60 yung blood sugar, magpapanik yan, no? Hindi na yan mag-inject o hindi na babalik sa inyo. Or may depression kasi wala nang sumusuport na family members. You can have test it o pagka refer nyo na lang sa friendly psychiatrist, no? So what we can do to reduce the family stress and to have a coping tips, no? Talk with them with kindness, follow the healthy lifestyle, support but don't control, no? Support mo diyan kasi bahala na yung doktor magturo. Just support them. Then learn together and manage stress and have a regular checkups. Kasi regular checkups is very important because nagbabago yung medications, nagbabago yung monitoring because may presence ng complications. So, we should remember, treat the person and the family, not just diabetes. So, hindi tayo nakafocus sa diabetes. We also have a person with feelings and emotion. Okay? So, the successful diabetes management extends beyond the medication. So, engage the family as your active treatment partners and able to support all the plans, no? So, how do we prevent complications? Have a regular checkup on eyes, foot, kidneys, pati teeth, kasi madaling magkaroon ng dental caries. And also vaccines. So, kailangan nating makipag-coordinate sa dentist. So, how can we detect complication? Kasi there are times may diabetic retinopathy, may diabetic foot na. So, review the blood sugar, the blood pressure, and the weight. Okay? And also, there's a study that for every 1% reduction in A1C, there is a significant reduction in diabetes complication. 37% microvascular, 40% MI, and other diabetes-related disease. No? So, it's better also to continuously reduce or lower the blood sugar. And we can refer them to our friendly specialists. So, as a family doctor, coordinate with the overall care to eye doctor. Ako, gumagamit ako ng ophthalmoscope for my new patient just to check kung walang mga bleeding, may mga hemorrhages, no? And I refer to nephrologists if there are signs of chronic kidney disease, mababa na yung eGFR. So you have to compute for the eGFR or may mga mataas na yung albuminuria ng pasyente o may diabetic foot, there are times ako na nagdi-debrief kung minor lang yung foot, no? And also check for the dentist to treat gums. And also, I also talk to the pharmacist. Kasi there are times na hindi nila alam na kapag after 3 months, kailangan bumalik sa doktor. And also, refer to your friendly diabetologist, no? So that yung mga difficult to control, yung mga mild hyperglycemia, pwede na sa inyo. But if may mga complication na, more than 300, 400, or may mga MI or may heart failure, you have to refer it. And also, we need a diabetes care or educator, trainer. So in my clinic, I train my nurse to be an educator. And I have a online dietitian. No? Ibibigay ko yung link that after the consultation, they have to consult my dietitian. Okay, so the role of the family doctor is a part of the teamwork of other specialists. And we have to work together, no? We communicate with other specialists, we make a shared decision, and we, together with the patient and family, review our plans. Ito yung sample ng family diabetes care. Pwede nyo po siyang gamitin in your research. Diabetes care is most successful when it becomes a family responsibility rather than giving to the patient along the burden of the treatment. So masaya yon kasi maraming magbabantay, maraming nagsusupport sa kanya. So why does family diabetes care work? Because you have different strategy. When you educate the family, they will have a better diabetes knowledge. Pag you teach them the healthy meal, improve on nutrition. You share the family activity, increase exercise adherence. Kasi minsan may mga patient na akala pag pinagbawal mo, hindi na siya kakain. Kaya pagbalik nila sa clinic, malnourished na sila. And you have a strategy on the medication reminders to have a better adherence. And continuously have a glucose monitoring. Pwede mo siyang i-taper pag well-controlled, pwedeng 3 times a week na lang o 2 times a week. O kung saan siya nag-hypoglycemia early morning, pwede mong i-add yun. And again, the emotional support is really needed. No? Regular family meetings. Family meetings in this case is very important, especially when you're going to start for a new patient, when you're going to start the treatment for patient who will start on insulin, patient in the ICU, patient who is about to operate, who will undergo operation, yan kailangan natin ng family meeting. And again, these are the 5 roles of the family physician. We plan together, we educate, coordinate, monitor, assess. This is the nutshell of diabetes care. Okay. And by the way, we should not forget the community. I have my own community diabetes care plan, no? I started the diabetes club, no? Launching of my diabetes club in Cainta, no? Sama-samang kaitenyo, alagaan natin ang diabetes nyo in 2017. This is a community-based support wherein the people with diabetes and family meet regularly to learn and share their experiences. Parang support group siya, no? So my goal in launching a diabetes club in the community is to empower people with diabetes, live a healthy lives. Kasi alam nila na hindi lang sila may diabetes, marami din. Remember, each family belongs to a community. So we continue to extend the promotion of healthy lifestyle in the community, provide them emotional support, prevent diabetes complication. And there are times, ito yung sample ng community program. Pwede nyo itong gawin sa community project nyo. Merong health education seminar, merong akong in-invite na nurse educator, or exercise, mga volunteers or support group, or nutrition demo. I will ask a dietitian from one drug company. So ito yung ginawa ko noon. I educate the community, lay education ang tawag dyan, no? Then, we have around 300 to 500 persons with diabetes. So, we do the glucose, cholesterol screening, and food screening. And also, I started in Taytay, ang tawag ko sa kanilang club, Stop Diabetes Club. Samahan taga Taytay inorganisa palaban sa diabetes. With that activities of same then cooking demonstration, food education, group discussion, and they have received the benefits of better medication adherence, good quality of life, and reduced diabetes stress. So ito yung other pictures, no? So they are very happy, they know, nawawala, nare-reduce yung stress nila. Kasi I have one patient na nag-suicide because of depression, no? So it's good that most of them are patient join this support group, no? They have nutritional counseling, and they check their and they were aware of it is important also to check their blood pressure, no? For possible complication. So we have to have a partnership in the community with barangay health workers, school teachers. There are times we have a screening in the churches, and number of people screened were increasing. So this diabetes care education is to prevent, detect, and manage diabetes, no? So as a role of the family physician can organize the diabetes club, educate, and counseling coordinate. So Diabetes Club is just more than a support group. It is a community of learning, encouragement, empowerment, where patients, families, and healthcare providers work together. Again, so you can have your own roadmap to family diabetes care. My take-home message, I think, is we should treat the person and the family not as diabetes. We empower the families through education, develop our individualized family diabetes care, and you should know the roles of family physician. So the future belongs not to those who know everything today. So continuously join this kind of webinar and learn more. But to those who never stop, you will learn more for tomorrow. I think that's all. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Thank you for listening.
Doc Rafi, thank you so much po, Doc, for such a concise lecture po, no? So it's really a great eye-opener kasi I think I speak for everyone when we initially think that our role as physicians is just simply to give medications and try to achieve our glycemic controls. However, as you have told us quite clearly, our roles as physicians in the care of our patients goes beyond the four corners or the four walls of the hospital or our clinic. And as a matter of fact, if we include the family even in managing our patients, we will be better to treat them better. So again, thank you so much po, Doc Rafi, for that really
Thank you.
amazing lecture po, Doc.
Thank you.
So we will now open for the floor for our question and answer session. If you have questions, please type them in the chat box or use the raise hand feature. We will try to accommodate as many questions as time permits. So for our first question po, Doc, in the chat box, what is an approach if the index patient refuses to adhere to family wellness plan, but the rest of the family are supportive of the wellness plan? Now, if the response can also be discussed with medical ethics in mind, including patient autonomy, non-maleficence, and beneficence. Thank you po.
Okay, I think you should ask sino yung close ng patient, no? Sino yung pinakamalapit niya? Kung karamihan, no, pag mga grandparents, I will use the apos as an ally. So, sasabihin ko, kausapin siya. Or, baka ito yung mga patient with mental health problems. Baka depressed. You really have to have time to talk to the patient, no? Although it's very difficult, no? Marami akong ganyan, mga difficult patient. Gusto ng family, ayaw naman nila. Pero, there are certain strategy to do. Sasabihin ko na lang, kung ayaw nyo po niyan, gusto nyo ba pagtanda nyo, naka-wheelchair kayo? Minsan may konting pitik ng pananakot, no? Kasi kailangan gagamitin mo na iba-ibang strategies. Pag yung pasyente talaga, medyo may background ng pero hindi mo naman tatakutin. Sabihin mo, kung halimbawa ang age niya, 65, o gusto nyo po ba, may nakita kayo sa labas, pagtanda nyo, naka-wheelchair kayo, Pag lumindol, di kayo makakatakbo. Mag-isip siya, no? Oh, sige, pwede na. So there are a lot of strategies, but be able to detect any presence of mental health while explaining the possible diabetes care plan to this patient, no? There are a lot of strategies, but you yourself, yung mga residents, if you're going to go on practice, madidevelop yan. Through the years of your practice, madidevelop yung skills nyo, how to approach different cases, no? Meron dyan magre-refuse talaga, pero pag na-realize nila, importante pala. Or sasabihin ko, for example, yung 60 years old, kung is it father or mother or lolos, tayo meron po ba kayong trabaho? Wala. Pag sinabi yung trabaho, biro nyo, kita nung anak nyo ang gagastusin nyo pag na-hospital kayo. Di ba kayo nag-iisip noon? Di ba kayo naawa sa anak nyo na yung pera niya gagamitin pag na-hospital kayo? So, there are times lumalambot yung puso ng pasyente. Okay. So, did I answer your question?
Ayan,
Okay,
Dr.
thank
has
you.
answered po. Opo, Doc. Dr. Justine is very thankful po, no? So thank you so much po, Doc, for that response po. Doctor, we have another question po, Doc, from Dr. Erica Gonzalez. Good PM po, Doctor, and thank you very much po for the lecture. She has two questions po, Doc. Number one, how much po would you advise CGM in your community? And number two, do you advise for patients to use herbal medications due to financial constraints, such as Ampalaya capsules instead of insulin or Linaid?
Okay, so thank you very much for that question. No? First, yung CGM kasi, for example, kung province ang practice niya sa province like ours, not all of your patient can afford the CGM, yung continuous glucose monitoring. Around 4,000 yata yun. Tapos, you have to change the gadget every 2 weeks. So, the CGM can be prescribed kung affordable for the patient, kung kaya nung kanyang budget. Or during pandemic like in COVID, naka-CGM kasi you reduce the contact time to your patient. Pero kung yung pasyente tamad siyang ayaw niyang finger stick, pwede naman siyang CGM. The thing is, the limiting factors is the price. Tapos yung maintenance niya every 2 weeks magpapalit. Tsaka although very nice to advise yon, to prescribe. Tapos yung second question niya,
the second question po, Doctor, is would you advise for patients to use herbal medications if they may have financial constraints po?
Okay. In ISD, we have several check on the benefits of the herbal. I think may mga iba yung mga they do not undergo yet for randomized controlled trials, no? Mag-ingat kayo dun sa mga herbal. Dito sa Rizal, ang daming ganyan, no? Magpapakulo ng dahon ng sambong, ng dahon ng avocado, and they have no RCT, randomized controlled trials. Later on, masama pala sa kidney. Pagbalik sa'yo, kasi tinigil nila yung mga actual medication. Remember, the anti-diabetic drugs underwent several process, no? From phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, mga 10 years pa bago ma-recommend sa patient. Itong herbal na ginawa lang, wala naman siyang research or study design. Kaya we do not advise as much as possible, lalo na yung Ampalaya, insulin capsule, or Ampalaya tablet. Sa ngayon, hindi pa, kasi bago naming i-prescribe sa ISD, we should look for the results of the trials kung meron. Kailangan mag-undergo ng RCT, the highest form of research, no? Thank you. Yes, okay. Hello? Okay.
Kindly unmute.
Okay. Medyo wala akong narinig. Okay.
Ayan, Doc. Sorry, Doc. So,
Okay.
we have another question po from Miguel Pascual. So how do we balance giving diabetic meds to achieve glycemic control versus polypharmacy in our elderly patients po?
Yan ang isang main problem, no? Polypharmacy. For example, you're treating the hypertension, 2 tablet, no? You're treating the diabetes, 3, tapos may insulin pa, may anti-cholesterol pa. So what we can do is to choose a drug that is with combination. Kasi meron na ngayong combination. Instead na separating, for example, losartan and amlodipine, may nabibili ng 1 tablet. So, yun, yung fixed combination can help. Tapos yung review, kaya nga may follow-up, no? May review, for example, nagbigay ka na ng yung mga vitamin B complex, yung di na masyadong, lalo na kung indigent yung pasyente, yung kung ano yung present problems niya, yun na lang muna i-focus mo. Kung nawala na yung numbness, nawala na yung neuropathy, you remove the drugs temporarily, but focus on the main problem. Ano ba main problem niya? Diabetes, hypertension, yung mga ibang mga additional or adjunctive treatment, you can remove that. Kasi meron akong pasyente, pagkalabas sa hospital, mga 10 to 15 tablets, parang kumakain na siya ng rice, no? So it's better to review and remove those unnecessary. Okay. Yun na.
Yes po, Doc, no? So that's definitely what we should do po, no? So again, treat the patient, not the illness po, Doc, no? So prioritize. Okay, so thank you so much po, Doctor. For the interest of time po, Doctor, we'll be entertaining one last question po for this evening, Doc. Another question po from Dr. Stephen Lanes. Since type 2 diabetes has been rising, especially for the younger population, is the screening tool by the ADA that you were able to share po, Doctor, applicable to them, or are there special considerations for the pediatric population?
Pediatric. So, pag you will not test all pediatric, basta remember nga pala, I did not mention urinalysis. Urinalysis is not a tool for diagnosis. It has a cut-off, a physiologic cut-off. The presence of glucose in the urine will only be seen if the blood sugar is above 180. Paano yung diagnosis na 126? So, it's not a good diagnostic tool, yung urinalysis. Pwedeng may diabetes, hindi nilalanggam yung urine. For younger population, pediatric, pagpalagay natin, for 12, meron akong mga 13 years old na type 1 diabetes. Unfortunately, hindi siya na-diagnose agad kasi ang case niya is, ang kanyang complaint is breathing, difficulty breathing. Yung pala nagdi-DKA na, no? So, it's very difficult to make a diagnosis. But, kung mga obese, ito yun, pag obese na teenager, dami ganyan. Pag obese na teenager, what you can do is to request for HbA1c, FBS, or the pwede na yung postprandial. Pero kung mga adult, especially kung relatives of a diabetic, normal lang FBS, you request for 75 grams OGTT. Kasi it is the postprandial who will become abnormal first before the fasting. Kaya, pag mga relatives na mga diabetic, ng person with diabetes, it's preferred to request for 75 grams OGTT. Pero kung mataas na yung sugar niya, hindi na OGTT, fasting blood sugar. For younger patient, very rare mong magpa-request niyan unless na may mga 12 years old na may mga na very obese, yan, pwede kang mag-request ng FBS, HbA1c. So kung nakita mo, ano lang, normal naman, you advise for healthy lifestyle and healthy diet. Okay.
Okay, again, thank you so much po, Doc Rafi. No? So now we know what are the ideal screening tests that we can use for both adult and pediatric patients. Since you have told us in your lecture na, Doctor, that they are certainly rising in the number of pediatric patients who are also diagnosed with diabetes mellitus.
Ngayon, pag mga pre-diabetic na pasyente na teenagers, no, mga 15, 18, nag-start na minsan kung kaya, especially kung may with relatives with a higher risk of diabetes, nag-start na kami ng metformin. Mga 18 years old, no? It is good for pre-diabetes, yung metformin. But check nyo muna yung kidneys, i-work up nyo muna yung pasyente. No? Okay.
Thank you so much po, Doctor, for your wonderful insights to these questions. If ever po, to our dear audience, if you have any questions, kindly message us for these questions and we will relay these questions to Dr. Rafael Cruz after our lecture.
So, as our token of our appreciation for your time, expertise, and valuable contribution to today's webinar, we would like to present our Certificate of Appreciation. So, this reads, University of Santo Tomas Hospital, Department of Family and Community Medicine, in collaboration with the Philippine Academy of Family Physicians, Manila Chapter, presents this Certificate of Appreciation to Dr. Rafael B. Cruz for sharing his valuable insights and expertise as the resource speaker in the USTH DFCM lecture series entitled Family Diabetes Care Planning, Our Family, Our Health, Our Diabetes Plan, given this 27th day of July 2026 at the UST Hospital, España, Manila. Signed by our Residency Training Officer, Dr. Marian Emmy Grace Alvarez, our Department Chair, Dr. Maria Victoria Concepcion Pilares Cruz, the PAFP Manila Chapter Secretary, Dr. Mark Louis Mann, and the PAFP Manila Chapter President, Dr. Charles Edward Florendo. So once again, congratulations and thank you po, Dr. Rafi.
Okay, thank you also to Dr. Maribic and Dr. Meg. Thank you.
So now, to officially close today's program, we would like to invite Dr. Marian Emmy Grace Alvarez, our Residency Training Officer, to deliver the closing remarks.
Good evening, everyone. As tonight's lecture draws to a close, I would like to extend our sincere appreciation to our distinguished speaker, Dr. Rafael B. Cruz. Thank you for sharing your time, your expertise, and your passion with us this evening. Your insights on family diabetes care planning have reminded us that managing diabetes is not a journey we take alone. It is a shared responsibility that involves the whole family working together toward better health. Tonight, we were reminded of a powerful truth that behind every patient is a family, a support system that can either make or break the success of a care plan. As family and community physicians, we are uniquely positioned to guide not just our patients, but the households and communities they belong to. Our sincere thanks as well to the Department of Family and Community Medicine of the University of Santo Tomas Hospital and to our valued partner, the Philippine Academy of Family Physicians Manila Chapter, for making this monthly lecture series possible. And to all of you who joined us tonight, thank you for your presence, your attention, and your commitment to continuous learning. It is this dedication that keeps the spirit of family medicine alive and thriving. As we leave this evening, let us carry with us the message at the heart of tonight's theme: our family, our health, our diabetes plan. May we bring what we have learned into our practices, our clinics, and our communities, one family at a time. Thank you, good evening, and let us continue to care together.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rameg, for your very inspiring closing message.
Before we end our webinar, we kindly request everyone to please complete our evaluation form by scanning the QR code shown on your screen. Your feedback is greatly appreciated and will help us improve future learning activities. please accomplish the evaluation form, doctors. Thank you so much po. We will be giving a few minutes for everyone to answer the evaluation form, after which we will be playing the UST hymn followed by a group picture. So after the playing of the UST hymn, we kindly request everyone to please turn on your cameras. So 1 minute left, and then we will be playing the UST hymn followed by our group picture. Thank you so much, doctors. Okay, thank you so much, doctors, for answering our evaluation form. We will now be playing the UST hymn followed by our group picture. Thank you so much, everyone. And now we kindly request everyone to please turn on your cameras so that we may have a group picture taking. Thank you so much, doctors.
So while we wait po for everyone to open their cameras, we would like to thank everyone for joining us today. So that concludes our webinar entitled Family Diabetes Care Planning, Our Family, Our Health, Our Diabetes Plan.